woman, I was born a woman, I am a woman. That doesn't mean that we don't care for and get counseling for kids who are struggling or they have mental illness or gender dysphoria, whatever you want to call it. But we should not be abandoning the majority of kids to just buy into an ideology for a minority. We should help that minority. We should give them what the tools they need to cope and progress through life. We don't just need change. We need change. We don't just want change. We need it. We need it desperately. This NDP government does not care about the working men and women of British Columbia. They are crushing the working people. They're crushing families. And this just can't continue. It is important that the next leader of the Conservative Party of B.C. is in fact a Conservative.
Humphrey here with Rebel News, reporting February 26th in Surrey at a rally where hundreds, I'd say well over 500 people came to hear former Conservative MP and Minister Kerry-Lynne Findlay, who is now running for the leader of the Conservative Party of British Columbia. I believe this might be the first rally in the race. It was a good turnout. I'm going to speak with her and others about what they thought took place tonight. All right, what stuck out to you today about tonight's rally?
Well, there was a lot of people here, a lot of energy, a lot of people who've been quite involved in the Conservative grassroots here in the lower mainland of BC.
The rally tonight, one thing I really noticed about Kerry-Lynne is that she's really good with her words. She doesn't use a teleprompter, which is really good, probably due to her past experience in law. And one thing I really liked about her is her enthusiasm for the Canadian country, for British Columbia, and to actually get things done properly. Yeah.
I think tonight's event was absolutely amazing. A huge turnout from everyone. I wonder how the other candidates are going to hold up to this, especially Caroline Elliott, specifically because she's in the polls. She's high in the polls right now.
Everything she said just resonates with my idea and my concern, right? And I know there's a possibility for change, and we've been waiting for so many years. So our community, Chinese community, and we all want to support her, and we just want her to go.
You're actually running in Surrey as a city council in the upcoming race, but you're here today for Ms. Findlay. Why?
First of all, Drea, thank you so much. You have always been an amazing coverage. So today we are together over here because we are supporting Kerry-Lynne Findlay for the position to be the next Conservative Party of BC's leader. This position is not for an experimental person. This is a true conservative who will be taking that position. So we are very, very happy. And that is the support you saw today. 600 people. 600 people were over here, and people are flowing outside the door. So you have to understand, this position, if in the wrong hands, is going to divide the party again. We need a true conservative to put everyone together so that we have a great leadership at the provincial level. And now, as I'm running from Conservative Party of Surrey, she's a great mentor for us, and we would like that mentorship flows down to the grassroots. So from the municipal, city level, if the Conservative Party comes, it will be a great support all the way to the federal.
What did you think of what you heard tonight at the rally?
I thought it was great. I think Kerry-Lynne Findlay has amazing stage presence. I thought her speech hit all the right points. She didn't seem like she had a speech prepared. She seemed like she was winging it, which is very impressive, and how coherent it was and how energetic it was.
Insider perspective, what is something that the people need to know about why your wife should win as leader of the Conservative Party of BC?
I would say her determination and her ability to wrap her head around really any issue. I've never seen anybody like her. She fascinates me in her ability to look at a problem, look at all the angles of the problem, and really understand what needs to be done. She's very good at that. During my cancer, she was with me I'm sure wives and spouses and people are with them all the time, but she was with me every single day. She went to every one of my radiation treatments, which was 35 of them. She missed 2, but she set up people to make sure I got there. And she took care of me every day, and she put up with me because I wasn't I didn't have a capacity to chat too much or anything. So there was days we had hand signals like meant like, okay, stop, and she would. But she was wonderful.
The thing about Findlay is she's highly accessible. She's highly focused towards families. She's highly a people-oriented person. She wants to bring that impact on the lives of every individual in British Columbia rather than going for big government and everything. I don't care if she's conservative or not conservative. As a politician, as a person, I have seen that she has lived up to her commitment, and I think she's going to be the biggest name in British Columbia. Why? Because this is the first time I came to a conservative event, and this is the day I heard her, and that was very impactful. This is the first time I haven't even met her. She has a lot of people surrounded by her, but I truly believe, that she can bring a change because the topics she has talked about, it resonates with every people and every individual component of the society.
Have this situation where the provincial government and frankly the federal as well didn't even take a position in that Cowichan decision that everyone's worried about, where they didn't even take the position before the court on behalf of all of us that private property rights should be above Indigenous governance and traditional territory rights. We must repeal DRIPA and replace it with something far more reasonable.
Stuart, I know many people in this province feel like they've lost faith in Conservatives. You yourself said tonight that it's important that a Conservative leads the Conservative Party of British Columbia.
Yeah.
How do people know you're Conservative?
Because of my track record, and I'm a Conservative by conviction, not convenience. It isn't because I'm looking to lead the Conservative Party of BC, it's because I have been leading as a Conservative. I'm the only one who's governed as a Conservative, as I mentioned in my speech. Under the Harper government, we brought down personal and corporate taxes. We brought down sales tax. We brought in income splitting for seniors. We delivered a balanced budget after one of the worst recessions in decades. It can be done if you take reasonable measures and you bring efficiencies into government. This last budget of the NDP was a no-hope budget. It actually was heartbreaking. Just higher taxes to pay for their spending, which has been reckless and over the top, $183 billion in debt. This is not the way it's supposed to work.
Do you think when you say grassroots and conservative, a lot of people are saying, I don't think the BC Conservative Party is really conservative anymore. Is Miss Findlay the one who's going to change that?
I think Kerry-Lynne is the right choice to kind of unite the factions together, kind of like when she worked in the Harper government in Ottawa. You need someone who can bring the different bases of the party together. But unfortunately, a lot of her opponents, they all seem to be leaning towards the BC Liberal base, and we cannot go back to the BC Liberal coalition, because when we hear what Kerry-Lynne was talking about tonight on the drug issues, the issues of crime, soft crime, the parental rights issues, this didn't start under David Eby. It started under Christy Clark and the BC Liberals, BC United Party, and David Eby just took those and aggressively expanded those. And now we have to fight back to give parents the rights to get their children who might have drug addictions into treatment, to say that their kids have a right to deserve to be kids, and stop this dangerous ideology that's pervading our classrooms here in BC. And I think Kerry-Lynne is the right person that can go in and stop the BC Liberals from coming back and trying to reinvent themselves as Conservatives.
Looking back at John Rustad and kind of seeing him start turning, a little bit more liberal over time. Someone like Kerry-Lynne has traditional Conservative values. She talked about the nuclear family, which I thought was really important, and she tied the conversation to addiction. Right, a lot of these Conservatives, they don't like to talk about addiction. They're they have too much leeway on on their policies, and a lot of them are honestly quite, in my opinion, political opportunists, right? Whereas Kerry-Lynne has very traditional values. She is always stuck with the Conservative Party, and quite frankly, she just says how it is. She doesn't lie.
I think the real Conservatives in this race are Harman Bangu, Kerry-Lynne Findlay, and Sheldon Clare.
You know, when I saw her arguing in Congress, the meeting, and she's the first one, in many issues, she's the first one to stand out and say the truth, right? So I think she's an upright woman, and which I like. And she never make ambiguous view, like, this or that, maybe. No, she's very, very clear. So I like a clear-minded woman.
Well, let's talk about Kerry-Lynne. She's the most conservative of the conservative leadership candidates. She's the only one in this leadership race that has actually served a ministerial role. She's the only one that has became an MP. I know Ian Black ran for Member of Parliament in 2025, but he didn't get it. So that is why he's in second place. But Kerry-Lynne, as I said, she's the only one with experience with Stephen Harper, with other federal leaders like Pierre Poilievre, and that's why I would say she's the most conservative, the most qualified leader of them all.
Her record speaks for itself. She has been running amazingly at the federal level, have always done one thing 100% right, which is running for the Conservative Party of BC. She hasn't been doing flip-flopping like the other candidates. Apparently, when I see some United BC candidates are trying to run for this position, but think about it. These are the people who could not run their own show. So now they're expecting to run for a party which almost formed a government. As you know, it was just one spot, which could have Surrey Guildford if it would have flipped. This would be a ruling government. So we need someone strong who is a true Conservative.
I'm still shopping. I'm trying to see which of the candidates can really hit the right tones. But I'm very happy to see much more stronger Conservatives take over the BC Conservative Party so that we can have a much more strong and credible opposition to the BC NDP.
Who's catching your eye so far out of who's announced?
Kerry-Lynne Findlay, for sure. I was extremely impressed with the speech and the fact that this event was this crowded. I don't know if you probably captured it, but there was maybe 400, 500 people here. That's about as big as a rally would be in an election when you're already the leader, not just when you're a candidate. So it's very impressive. I like Harman Bangu. I like the fact that he has the credibility and the bona fides from running for the party back in 2022. So Harman and Kerry-Lynne Findlay have the highest credibility. Caroline Elliott is not bad either, but she seems to not. There seems to be a risk for Caroline Elliott surrendering the party to more left-wing advisors as well. Although she seems to be a very honorable person and strong on some of the key issues like DRIPA.
I think there's a core conviction to not just to be a conservative, but to what conservatism means and how it would benefit the people of British Columbia to have a smaller government, to have a more responsible government, to look after business, also to respect the individual. I think we've lost that respect for the individual, and we have to fight for that. We have to keep fighting for that. As much as we fight for lower taxes and all these things, respect for the individual is probably one of the most important things we can do, and it's one of the most important things for us to have those freedoms.
All eyes are on our resources here. We have so much to offer, and it seems we're not using it to the advantage, and people are running from the province. If you were to become leader and then form government, what would be some of the initial steps you would take to get that back on track?
Well, you can't just look at efficiencies in government and bringing costs down. Well, it's a very important part. The other side of it is you have to get the engine of prosperity working again. And that means we have to get permits done faster. We need to open up our mines. Critical mineral mining, yes, is kind of creeping in there now, but not enough. And we have God-given resources that we leave in the ground because of ideology that doesn't work for the people. I mentioned a couple times, we have to bring power back to the people. And that shouldn't be an extraordinary concept. But here in British Columbia under the NDP it is. And we need to get our sawmills going again, our forestry industry energized. We need to let our farmers do what they do best, which is farm and produce food. And otherwise, we're just going to keep going down this terrible, slippery slope of food insecurity, income insecurity, and people will keep leaving our province. About 70,000 British Columbians left the province year before last. And And we can't afford this. We're losing some of our best. Most of them, by the way, were under the age of 40. And these are the people we want to keep here, but we have to give hope. And we have to give a vision that we want a prosperous nation. We will create a prosperous province, and we will attract investment and keep the people we want to keep here and attract others to come here. This shouldn't be an exit place. It's one of the beautiful, well, probably one of the most beautiful places on earth to live. So why are people leaving? They're leaving because they can't afford it.
I'm a status Indigenous. I grew up, my grandma went to residential school, and there's a lot of pushback in the community, and especially in the schools, that are telling me what to think as an Indigenous person, right? There's a lot of issues, and like, you know, I study legal studies, and obviously Kerry-Lynne is a lawyer. So something that's really important to the common law of Canada is something called liberal individualism, right? And one of those is the right to private property. You know, as an Indigenous status Indigenous person, to see private property rights being at stake undermines our entire democracy. We have certain principles laid within our common law country that underlie the actual laws. And when you start pushing back on those principles, then that can be very dangerous for any country.
The problem with NDP is that they are raising the debt for every individual by 50,000 by the end of this year, which is going to be remarkable because they have increased the debt per person in British Columbia just for 5 million people province, you know, which is larger than so many countries. Now people are miserable, living unaffordably, and these people in the NDP, they launched affordable housing, which is apparently $3,500 for a one bedroom apartment, which is miserable. That is very shameful. I can't be an ambassador to them anymore, and that is why I am now standing at the Conservative Party's event.
I think everybody's racially equal. I don't think that Indigenous people are better. I don't think that white people are better. I don't think that black people are better. I think we're all human beings, and the more that we focus on race, and the more we treat people differently, the more racist our country is actually becoming.
Some of your biggest cheers tonight were saying put family and freedom first and get woke ideology out of schools. Again, if you were to form government, what does that look like? Removing woke ideology out of school specifically?
What it looks like is getting back to basics, where our children are taught math, science, real history, not revisionist history, where they are taught skills to make them competitive in a very big competitive world and take their place. It means, when I say woke ideology, SOGI is something that's been added in. And the BC Liberals brought it in. They keep saying, well, it was sort of anti-bullying. Well, you're not going to have families protesting an anti-bullying program. That's not what it is. It's gone too far. The materials in school are not proper for young children. The teachers, some teachers avoid it entirely. Other teachers do nothing but teach it. Now they're talking about queering outdoor education. What has outdoor education got to do with your biology or your sexual orientation? They want to make it about that. That's wrong.
So yes or no, real quick, would you remove SOGI for schools, or would you work on revamping it?
I would remove it.
Okay, last question. This question came from Twitter when I asked, what is the number one question people want me to ask candidates? It was, what is a woman?
A woman is born a biological female, like me, and the first time someone asked me to call myself cisgendered, I had to go ask my children what it meant. So there you go. All
right.
I'm a woman, I was born a woman, I am a woman. That doesn't mean that we don't care for and get counseling for kids who are struggling, or they have mental illness, or gender dysphoria, whatever you want to call it. But we should not be abandoning the majority of kids to just buy into an ideology for a minority. We should help that minority. We should give them the tools they need to cope and progress through life.
Well, this is the beginning of my coverage on who are the candidates of this race. If you appreciate me having my boots on the ground to show you who they are, consider making that possible by donating towards this coverage at bcleadershipreports.ca.